It's been 39 years of hell for me not knowing what happened to my daughter and the other girl involved.
Tonight on Denver7 News at 6, deputies put a face to the murders of two young women.
Who would do such a horrible thing to somebody?
A woman's death is connected back to a high-profile trial. Prosecutors say she was the prime witness.
This case should already been signed, sealed, delivered, toss the key away, and lock him up forever.
College enrollment plummets.
I feel like I either have to stop this job, pick up another job, or I have to drop a couple of classes.
A popular theater chain struggles to keep the lights down.
And public health workers look for cover.
We had workers who didn't want to even share with neighbors that they work for public health.
Good evening and thanks for watching Denver7. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Jason Grenauer. Tonight, the families of two women finally have the answers they've been looking for. Annette Schnee and Bobby Joe Oberholzer were murdered in 1982. They disappeared on the same night. They were killed in the same way. Investigators looked into tip after tip, but came up empty every time.
And little did they know that one day DNA found at the scene could be used to build an entire genetic map, a map that pointed right to nearby Clear Creek County.
These cases get into you, and you can't let it go.
It took 39 years.
Bingo.
And a lot of sleepless nights.
We were working day in and day out on this case.
But Park County deputies finally have their man.
On February 24th, we arrested Alan Lee Phillips.
70-year-old Alan Lee Phillips, a retired mechanic living in Dumont.
It's a case that just kept going because it kept going.
After running his DNA through a genealogy database, investigators are confident he is the person responsible for the 1982 murders of Annette Schnee and Bobby Joe Oberholzer.
And you think about these two young, beautiful women that you've seen pictures of, lying in the snow after being shot in the darkness by themselves, dying, basically freezing to death.
Bobby Joe's body was found a day after she went missing in a snowdrift near Breckenridge. Annette was discovered 6 months later. We spoke with her mother by phone today.
I thought there would be no closure. I thought maybe I'd be gone before I had closure to this case. So that really, I'm ready to go when it's time now. I know.
Bobby Joe's husband lived under the suspicion that he was the killer. The sheriff read a statement on his behalf today.
I cannot thank enough all who never gave up the search for the truth. They are without doubt extremely dedicated and extraordinary individuals. May justice be served.
And investigators are now looking into the possibility that Phillips is connected to additional crimes. Anyone with information should call Crime Stoppers.
A woman recently found shot to death in Denver was expected to provide key testimony against Dante Lucas in his ongoing murder trial in Pueblo. Prosecutors tell Denver7 that Roxanne Martinez was going to take the stand and say that Lucas admitted to killing Kelsey Schelling. Police told us they do not believe Martinez was murdered because of the trial. Martinez's cousin isn't so sure, though. At the very least, he believes the DA should have done more to keep a witness safe.
My cousin was the witness right there. Where is witness protection? Why didn't our DA down here in Pueblo have protection for her when he knew she was an endorsed witness?
Police have not said if they have a suspect in Martinez's murder. The prosecution is expected to rest in Lucas's trial by Friday. A report of gunfire at Centaurus High School today turned out to be a false alarm.
Lafayette police say a teacher thought she heard gunshots, and within minutes, the school was swarmed by officers.
We're always excited when it is a false alarm because nobody was hurt and there's no issues with that. We all responded to the scene. We had agencies from all over Boulder County respond with us, and we just began setting up everything within the school and outside. But we are thrilled that everything is okay and everybody's safe.
Class resumed late this afternoon, and counselors were provided for students and staff alike. It has largely fallen to public health departments to enforce restrictions brought on by the pandemic, and for that, they've been rewarded with threats, vandalism, and worse.
Now, lawmakers are trying to ensure the people protecting us are protected as well. Here's Megan Lopez.
Public health, we make sure that your air is healthy, your water is healthy.
It's truly a service working in public health, a job in a department that before COVID most people didn't pay attention to. But when the pandemic hit,
I think we went from kind of quietly being in the background to being in the foreground, and a lot of which made people quite unhappy.
as the public health orders stretched from a week to a month to a year, a public display of anger.
This great suppression, as I call it, is illegitimate.
But then the protests became something more.
We've had people's dogs poisoned, someone's emergency brake cable was cut.
Across the state, the stories are similar and similarly scary.
We have had, threats and intimidation made to our staff over social media.
Leanne Jolin from San Juan Basin Public Health had people show up at her house.
I did hear noises outside my front door, looked out the window and saw about 20 protesters.
In Tri-County,
We had vandalism at one of our offices and like 6 times and had to close it down. And we had a firebombing threat at our administrative office.
it had to close its offices for 40 plus days due to threats.
We hired armed security. It's both frustrating and disheartening.
The stories go on and on.
They've seen a lot of threats for doing what is simply their jobs and just trying to protect public health.
The Colorado Association of Local Health Officials did a poll and say 80% of health directors in the state say they've been threatened. Many are leaving their jobs.
We have lost staff, and they're incredibly wonderful people, and I don't blame them one bit for leaving.
So a bipartisan group of lawmakers has introduced a bill to offer better protections for healthcare workers.
It will allow public health officials to remove their public information from certain state websites.
House Bill 1107 also makes it a misdemeanor crime to post their information publicly as a threat. Supporters say this isn't about stifling free speech.
But we need these conversations to happen in the right place, at the right time, and on the record.
To be criticized was one thing, but to be threatened was, for many people, just really over the top.
The bill already passed unanimously out of one committee, but it still has a long way to go in the legislature. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
Alamo Drafthouse has filed for bankruptcy and will close some theaters. Like other chains, Alamo is dealing with diminished capacity, competition from streaming services, and a dearth of blockbusters that get people off their couch and into a theater. Well, we asked Alamo if Colorado's 3 locations will stay in business. Sloan's Lake appears safe. Westminster and Littleton haven't shown movies in months. Alamo could not say if they will do so again.
5-star businesses in Arapahoe, Denver, and Adams County can now operate in level blue. Small businesses will pretty much operate along the same guidelines. Larger restaurants and gyms, however, will see their capacity limits boosted by as many as 125 people.
Takeout booze could still be a thing post-pandemic. The current law allows restaurants to sell alcohol to go. Well, that expires in July, and Colorado Republicans and Democrats alike want to keep it going indefinitely. Their bill passed out of a House committee today with an amendment that actually allows bars to send you home with an even larger drink of your choice.
A bill to teach media literacy from an early age has advanced in the state house. The proposal would provide kids with resources to learn the difference between a trusted source and disinformation. The plan is specifically catered to elementary and middle school students. Well, obtaining a college education is often labeled as a choice, and sometimes it is.
But being forced between putting food on the table or going to class is not a choice. It is a fundamentally unfair situation that too many young Coloradans are finding themselves in.
Denver7 education reporter Nicole Brady has that story tonight.
Dominic Jackson wasn't always on the college track.
Yeah, I was one of those kids.
But as he started thinking about long-term goals, he decided to enroll in MSU Denver last January.
I was enrolled. I was getting my bearings, getting into class, and then the pandemic hit.
That hit was felt across higher education. Colorado colleges saw a 5.2% enrollment drop, not just a decline in incoming freshmen, but current students dropping out. And the effect was disproportionate. Colorado's community colleges saw a 14% drop in enrollment among first-generation students and an 11% drop among Black students.
About half of all students of color in Colorado who go on to a college or university come to the community colleges. So we serve the population that was also the hardest hit by the pandemic.
At MSU, a lot of students are also parents and they work other jobs.
If they're going to eliminate, how are they going to prioritize that? it's probably going to say, oh, I'm going to take some time off from school.
The hope is that this time off is temporary because this is actually the time when college could help the most.
A lot of those students lost their jobs or had their hours cut, and frankly, they're not going to get those jobs back. They were service industry jobs, tourism jobs. If they could come back and get new skills, they would be much more marketable as we come out of the pandemic. But we've got to get them back, and the challenge is when they're out of work, when they lack transportation, when they have to take care of kids or parents or siblings, it's harder for them to do it.
MSU and the community college system are expanding support services, helping connect students to food assistance, mental health, and childcare.
We are an affordable institution. We're the second most affordable institution in the state and the most affordable institution on the Front Range. However, students still have basic needs that they need to take care of.
For Dominic, the pandemic left him with some difficult choices.
There were some struggles where I felt like I either have to stop this job, pick up another job, or I have to drop a couple of classes just so I can keep my academics up.
So in the end, he gave up a job and stuck with school.
I just pretty much went with it like, you know what, no regrets.
He's pursuing a communication degree and is working to start an after-school music program.
It's a nonprofit business that's going to help students that are in middle school, high school, even adults, just to give them a positive outlook on life.
It's the same message he has for his fellow college students. Don't give up.
Even in a pandemic, I know every day can get better.
And MSU Denver is asking the state for $50 million over 5 years to help provide more of the services Nicole mentioned. Coming up,
they reassured me that they were not going to sell my items, and they did it anyway.
Down on their luck, Coloradans are at war with storage companies. We're providing backup.
You guys really were the catalyst to get them to respond at all.